Now, as we've been hearing, the far-right National Rally Party of Marine Le Pen won the largest share of the vote in yesterday's first round of voting for the National Assembly in France. Shortly before we came on air, I spoke to Socialist Party Senator Hélène Conway-Mouret. I began by asking her why she thought people voted for the far right.
They're voting to express their anger and to also say to the government that, since the yellow vest, nothing has been done for them, that they are today in a position where, poverty is actually on the rise, public services are being degraded, and there is a kind of a major problem with working and middle classes in France. And they feel that, the government is not giving them the answers they're requesting. So with that vote, they're expressing their protest. It's more a protest vote. I do not believe that, we went from 3 million in 2022 to over 10 million people voting for the extreme right. There is not a rise of, multiplication by 3 of people who have become racist, overnight. So it is very clearly a protest vote.
Now, some seats were filled yesterday where candidates got more than 50% of the vote, but most seats are going to a second round next week. And as I understand it, is the top 2 candidates plus any candidate that got more than 12.5% of the registered votes. They can go into the second round. But obviously, if there's a 3-way contest, it makes it much easier for the far right to win.
Yes, indeed. And that's why from last night, all the left-wing parties have called for the withdrawal of the candidate coming third. So that will give a chance for the moderate, be it, centre-right, centre-left, to actually run against the National Front and actually have a chance to win the election. But if there are 2 against 1, of course, the one will actually come first and win the election. Overall, that will give the Rassemblement National an overall majority, and that is what needs to be avoided, really.
Now, that's, I think, known in French politics as the Republican Front, but there are some of President Macron's supporters who are very reluctant to have their candidate withdraw if it leaves a far-left candidate up against the far right.
Yes, and that's it's a very bad move, really, because it is indeed opening the door for the extreme right to seize power. And I do not believe that these people actually want that, because, if the extreme right has an overall majority, that means that, in fact, the Prime Minister has to come from those ranks and that the government will be formed, with National Front people. Now, if they do not have an overall majority, there is the chance for the president to actually nominate a prime minister and, having a kind of a coalition of, various parties representing, the various political forces. But for that, and that is the objective today, is to avoid for the extreme right to have an overall majority. I mean, it's the only objective because we know that they are coming in big numbers. The prediction is that they will be around 250 MPs, but they could be more. And then we are all in big trouble. And not just for France, not for our internal affairs, but I think overall.
What would a far-right government do you think?
Well, they have announced that the first thing they will do is close borders and fight immigration. They have started to attack binationals, saying that they wouldn't be able to have posts in the administration. And they're not giving answers to the anger that French people have expressed as to the cost of living and, their everyday life problems. So I think those who have expressed that vote and will end up with this type of government. And of course, culture and the media and so on are always targeted immediately, as they obviously have to, get hold of it for their own propaganda and so on. There is the idea that they will privatize the public services of the media that we have. They will just have in every sector of the economy and of our society, what they do normally when the extreme right comes to power, with also for women attacking women's rights. And I think in France, we have advanced, well-made moves, not rapidly, but we are moving towards equality of rights between men and women and so on. And all of that is just going to, be called to a stop. So we're all in great danger of that.
Senator Hélène Conway-Mouret, thank you so much for joining us on 6-1.